Welcome to the Kentucky Retirement System's Invoice Training Series. This video will provide information on the Employer Pension Spiking Invoice. In the 2013 General Session, Senate Bill 2 was introduced and passed, creating Kentucky Revised Statute 61.598. This statute administers the pension spiking law for employees with a retirement date from January 1, 2014 to the retirement date of June 1, 2017. A pension spike occurs if there is a greater than 10% increase in credible compensation when compared to the prior fiscal year that is not the direct result of an approved exemption. Kentucky Retirement Systems will only contact an agency about a pension spike if the spike impacts the member's final compensation. There are two instances in which an invoice would be created for the employer pension spiking. In the first instance, a retiring employee was found to spike upon the completion of their retirement paperwork. The employee's last participating employer was notified via the U.S. mail of the spike. If the agency did not dispute the spike, or if the Form 6481 and supporting documents were not returned by the employer within the 60-day time limit, then an invoice would be generated. In the second instance, the spike is found, the employer was notified, and the Form 6481 and supporting documents are returned within the 60-day time limit. The paperwork is reviewed by the Kentucky Retirement System's Legal Division, and a final determination notice is mailed to the agency. If the final determination is that the spike was not due to a bona fide promotion or career advancement, then 30 days following the determination letter, the invoice will be generated. The agency does have the right to file an administrative appeal within that 30-day time period, but they must do so in writing. The Employer Pension Spiking Invoice can be accessed through the Invoice module of the Report tab in Employer Self-Service. The invoice will be a multi-page document containing the billing voucher and calculation page for a single employee of your agency. These invoices will never contain multiple employees. The first page of the invoice contains the invoice portion, made up of the employer information, details, and payment instructions, and the voucher portion, made up of the employer information and payment details. The invoice details include the invoice number, due date for payment, the member information, and the amount due for the invoice. Following the details are instructions on how to pay the invoice, which an agency can do either electronically in Employer Self-Service or by mailing a paper check to the Kentucky Retirement Systems. If the agency chooses to pay this invoice by paper check, they need to include the voucher portion of this page along with their check. The remaining pages of the invoice contain the calculation information, so the agency can see how the amount due was determined. The first step is to find the difference between the employee's actual monthly retirement benefit versus the revised monthly retirement benefit. The monthly benefit is based on the member's final compensation multiplied by the system benefit factor multiplied by the employee's total service in years multiplied by the early retirement factor and then divided by 12. Once the difference between the actual monthly benefit and the revised monthly benefit is found, to determine the plan cost, that amount is multiplied by an actuarial factor, which is based on the employee's age and retirement plan. If there are multiple agencies who were the employee's last participating employer, the plan cost is divided equally among them to complete the calculation and find the total agency cost. Once the invoice is issued, the agency has a due date that is 12 months from the date of creation. The due date can be found under the invoice details on page 1. If the agency fails to pay the invoice within the 12-month period, interest will begin to automatically accrue on the invoice starting with the 13th month at a rate of 0.625% per month. This interest will continue to accrue until the invoice is paid off, and Kentucky Retirement Systems cannot reduce or remove the interest once it begins to accrue. If any additional pension spiking costs are found on a member, the employer will have 12 months from the new date of creation to pay the invoice with the additional cost without incurring interest. Thank you for viewing the Employer Pension Spiking Invoice Training. If an agency has questions regarding any of their employer pension spiking invoices, They may contact their ERCE team through the employer hotline and ask to speak to the employer pension spiking specialist.